Hello, sports fans. You're listening to the College Sports Superfan. Let's get right into this. I'm going to be talking about my predictions for the college football playoff week 14 bracket. This is what I believe is going to be revealed tomorrow night when they do the rankings reveal. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Let's pull it up right here so you guys can all see it. Okay, so as you can see, the top four remains the same: Oregon, Texas, Miami, Boise State. Boise State would still technically be the fourth highest ranked conference champion. The Big 12, I think, is ultimately going to end up in that 12 seed, which is pretty sad for them as a conference, honestly. But that's besides the point. Ohio State is at number 5. Look at Ohio State's path if this turns out to be true. This would be a pretty easy path to the semifinal. You'd get to host 12 seed Arizona State. They're the 12 seed because they're the current front runners in the Big 12. So theoretically, they would win the Big 12 conference. But again, whether it's Arizona State or BYU or Colorado, I feel very confident about Ohio State's chances to beat any one of those teams, especially at home. And then in the next round, in a neutral site game, they would get to play Boise State, who, even though Boise State has Ashton Genty and a really good defense, the Buckeyes' talent is still significantly better than the Broncos. So if this turns out to be true, if Ohio State can just beat Michigan, even if they lose to Oregon in the Big Ten championship game, they're going to end up with a really easy path to the college football playoff semifinals. Then you got Notre Dame, Georgia, Penn State, Tennessee, Indiana, SMU. I have SMU making it as my one final team to get in. The Mustangs have looked super impressive. They've clinched their ticket, they punched their ticket, to the ACC championship game. They absolutely deserve to be there. In my honest opinion, as long as SMU beats California in this final week, which is not a given, but assuming that they beat California, I personally believe even if they lose in the ACC championship game, they should still be a lock to make it to the college football playoff. Again, I think all that should matter for that ACC title game between Miami and SMU, assuming that that's the matchup, is which one would get the first round bye and which one would have to play in the first round on the road. So that's still going to matter quite a bit. But in my opinion, as long as both of those teams, as long as the Hurricanes and the Mustangs both win in their final regular season matchup, which they both should, then I believe that both of them should be locks to make it to the playoff. The only other interesting team that could be in the mix that you could replace SMU with would be Clemson. If I continued this rankings, I would actually have the Clemson Tigers at number 13, and they get to play South Carolina in the final game of the regular season. If they have an impressive win over South Carolina, then you could possibly make the case that maybe the Tigers should be in at number 11 or 10 and maybe bump Indiana or SMU out. Because again, at this point, Indiana, I have just barely in. And those are really the two teams that are truly on the bubble, are the Hoosiers and the Mustangs, because Indiana has such a terrible strength of schedule, and the one great team that they've played all year, they just got absolutely blown out. Theoretically, they should beat Purdue, but if they don't beat Purdue by at least 3 touchdowns, I'm going to consider that not very impressive at all, and I'm really going to put them on the bubble. Now, for the top 9 teams here, I think Tennessee through Oregon, those top 9 teams are very safely in as long as they win their final regular season game. That's basically, as long as they win the final regular season games, all 9 of those teams are in. And again, the only teams that I think are really on the bubble are Indiana and SMU. And of course, the Big 12 champion is completely up in the air at this point. So, some intriguing matchups here. If this tends to be the case, of course, would be Tennessee at Penn State. And really, the Vols and the Nittany Lions, you could kind of swap those two. I just put Penn State as the home team, but Tennessee could be 8 and Penn State could be 9. That could easily be swapped. And then SMU at Notre Dame, that would be a really fascinating playoff matchup. SMU's high-powered offense versus Notre Dame's elite defense. And then, but then the other matchups, Indiana at Georgia. I got to be honest, I think Georgia, based on what we saw with Indiana in the Ohio State game, I think Indiana would get absolutely killed. And Arizona State, I don't think would stand too much of a chance against Ohio State. But hey, you never know. Bowl games can be really crazy. Playoff games can be really, really wild. And we've seen some wild upsets in the past already. But, anyways, this is my bracket, guys. Let me know what you guys think of it. What are your predictions for the reveal tomorrow? And who do you feel is pretty safely in? And who do you think is going to end up being left out? Again, my final thoughts, my opinions is that SMU and Miami should both make it to the college football playoff should they win their final regular season games, unless Clemson has a really, really impressive showing against South Carolina. And also, my opinion is that if you have three losses, I don't care what your schedule is. If you have three losses, you should not be in the college football playoff, at least not this year. And I know a lot of people are trying to say, well, maybe Alabama should be in still, maybe South Carolina should be in. Uh, Alabama just got beat badly by a 5-5 Oklahoma team, 24-3. I'm sorry. That's not good enough to make it to the college football playoff. I don't care who you are. And South Carolina, they actually have a little bit more of a case because they're on a 5-game winning streak. But again, South Carolina lost to Alabama by 2 points earlier in the season. So are you really going to put the Gamecocks over the Crimson Tide? That would be kind of a tough one to justify as well. So in my opinion, if you got three losses, you're out. I just don't even care. You're out of it. So that's my personal take. Hopefully, the committee agrees with me there because I just think that would be incredibly unfair. Anyways, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below about these predictions. Please make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell for more great college sports content.